You won't be shot outside. Okay, Cyrus.
Stand up, get the mic, everybody here.
Could you tell us briefly what happened with each of the 16 people there? Did they go to Israel? Did they come to America? Did they stay in Russia? And what happened to their life afterwards?
Except for, we have two gentles.
Two, the two gentles, right? Gentiles, sorry. So they, one of them was 14 and 15 years, so they finished all this prison term and they came to America. I am the only one from our Jewish group, we can say, that came to America. I didn't came right away. I lived 10 years in Israel, and then I lost a job, normal life. And I found here, and it's, since then I'm here. My son is returned back to Israel, and he lived in territories in Samaria. My daughter is right here. So at some point we have to decide which way we go, I guess. Maybe. So pilot Mark Dimshitz, he died last year, age about 86, 87. Last years of his, he lived secluded life. He didn't want to much publicity, whatever. That's why you don't see much of his interviews. And most people live in Israel, and I believe happy life. So if you have something specific, I can. Okay.
When you were in prison, did you know about all the publicity you were getting in other countries, and did you hear about the demonstrations?
For first half a year, there was investigation. It is in complete strict isolation. I didn't have any clue what's going on. The one thing I knew that we basically screw up in a bad way. I didn't share exactly the opinion of Eduard Kuznetsov that for me it was not exactly sacrifice. I still hope very much that we'll succeed, that we'll make it, but I knew there is a chance to being shut down, or being arrested. But I was 21 years old at that time, and I didn't think much about dangers, put it this way. During this investigation, I knew a lot of our friends were arrested. The whole Jewish movement for immigration, for basically for Jewish, we can say, culture, Zionism, whatever, altogether. All it was crushed. Everything was. A lot of people were arrested. So there was nothing to be proud. When I was sitting, and I thought, we'll see what will happen when I get released, and who knows. At that time, I had already, after the trial, I got 8 years, and that was what I was thinking. Then I discovered that all of a sudden people started to get out, and after that, the whole spirit and our mood turned upside down, because we were basically, most of us, I can say, we were happy what we have done because of our case, our trials. They triggered the whole movement, and by the way, Glenn and all the other people that were mentioned, after our trials, this campaign on our behalf, started in a big way. It's much bigger scale and much higher level. So, and all this news, and we got even letters in the prison later. So it was a big morale booster for us. And I didn't mind to as long as my health was okay, everything was fine with me. And I believe that's most of us felt this way. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the motivation or the objective of the Gentiles who were in the group? Number one, and number two, have you learned anything from the Soviet perspective since the collapse of the Soviet Union and partial access to Soviet archives?
The first question, what's about two Gentiles, right?
Well, yeah, what was their objective?
Well, they were Russian dissidents. There's already been in prison for 6 years, another 5 years, something like that. So they wanted to get out of Soviet Union and live normal life. They didn't have any political aspirations, whatever. Because after the prison, when you get out, life is not normal. They persecute you, they harass you. That's what they wanted, just to flee Soviet Union. They were friends of Anat Kuznetsov. They were together in the same prison. As you understood, maybe that Edward was, before that, he was 7 years already in prison for political reason, as a dissident. And basically, after the prison, my voice is too strong. Okay, after the prison, the technology. Okay, after the prison, it's difficult to live a normal life, and quite often, what happened with the people, they go back to the prison for any other pretext. In Russian, they even say, the sooner you get out, the sooner you get back, and the sooner you get, it's like going up and down, back and forth. That's how it's. Okay, I'm a little bit maybe.
The Soviet archives.
Archive. When the Soviet Union collapsed, I was, thank God, already, by the way, in US at that time already, and I know about this no more than whatever you know. Of course, maybe I have more interest, but whatever I didn't see any interesting documents, whatever I could see about our trial, about our case. So, if I answer your question, I'm not sure. Okay.
Were you let out early also because of the pressure, or you were there for the full 8 years?
I spent the whole full prison term, 8 years. I applied, like many Jews at that time could do that. I applied with the official request, and I got permission or permit. And 2 months after my release, in August 1978, I came to Israel and lived there. Okay.
There was the daughter found papers about a divorce. What was this divorce?
Well, unfortunately, the marriage was not as strong and long. After, like say, Edward was released, they were together maybe for 2 years, and after that they split. So it's not completely happy marriage, but okay.
Sasha, I will.
When you were having the
Could you
trial,
stand up so everybody can hear you?
when you were tried, did you feel that your attorney was able to represent you and that you were able to get a fair trial in this matter?
So, I believe most people already answered your question. It was basically a show. The only thing my lawyer, by the way, his defense was built on, I was the youngest in the defendant. I was 21, and there was my elder sister and elder brother also was involved, and so I was like influenced by them. And I didn't argue too much with this. And by the way, I didn't know that our trial will be so. I felt myself like, say, not a big hero, put it this way, during the trial. I felt like most people understand that we tried, but we basically screwed up. That's all I knew at that time. So there was nothing to be proud of. But all of a sudden, when there was a sentence carried, I saw our strange, but this is very emotional moment. Then I saw these relatives, they were like saying in Russian, you can say, "Молодцы," it means good job, like you're heroes. Basically, it was I thought, why, we just screwed up. So many people arrested because of us, and all of a sudden there were a small group, of course, of relatives, and the whole, approximately like here. Also, all of the audience, it were KGB or all these artists, we can say, brought up people in order to support actors, yeah. Not artists, con artists. Right? Okay, Sasha.
Was Kuznetsov Jewish?
He's half Jewish.
Okay.
His mother is Russian,
His mother is
and
Jewish.
his father is. Yeah.
How old was he when he started?
He started when the first.
When he started the second.
The second. He is 41. He's he's born in 1941. It means it was in 1970. So we can say that when he just turned approximately 31. He's in January. His birthday. And that's approximately the time we started to plan and organize. In January, since January or February, from February, when Purim, by the way, it was Purim, and from February till June, that's.
Do you know anything about his first case, his first term in prison? Where did he get to the...
It was anti-Soviet propaganda and agitation, whatever they call it. It's item 70 in criminal code, whatever, in Russia. 70, okay? You can check that. And they were some kind of organization for freedom, for whatever, dissident case. Okay, yes, please.
Your father,
Roddy, could you
he
stand?
found,
Roddy?
how did
Roddy.
your father learn that 3 of his children were on that plane?
I believe the same morning when we were arrested, KGB came and for the search in our apartment, that's how he discovered that that something apparently we did. Then a few days after, my twin brother, he stayed outside. He didn't take part in this. He brought a newspaper that's from Leningrad, some local Leningrad newspaper. That's where there's short article that says that there were some criminals that were arrested for trying to hijack an airplane, something like that.
How did he manage throughout the years that you were in prison?
Well, I wish I could answer well, but he started to get support from you guys, I believe, and almost very soon after arrest. So he was morally for him, and he was working on some place, and people were coming, some Jews, who was still like shaking his head and his hand. And he felt that pretty soon that morally and also materially he would get help and assistance from outside. Okay, so.
What methods did KGB officers use to force you to cooperate?
Well, how they made us to speak and cooperate. Cooperate, that's, well, first of all, at the beginning, I almost to the end of the investigation, I certain things didn't refuse to tell to the investigators or investigation. They didn't. There was no, at least known to me, nobody was beaten because we didn't try to basically to hide basically anything. We, from the beginning, yes, I wanted to flee Soviet Union because I want to live in Israel, and that's all. But because most of us were involved in what's called samizdat in Russian, it means self-printed underground literature, Zionist or Jewish, whatever. That's what the investigation was about. But with the plane, it was, yes, we did it, and we didn't deny it because we were a 16 people group. There is no way you could hide it, and especially we all was no explanation why we all sudden flying. So it was no point. That was Kuznetsov suggestion. So there is no point to try to conceal why we are going to this airplane. Okay.
Thank you for coming in and speaking about the story. It's definitely something I wasn't aware of, so it's definitely an happening event. Just wondering why you guys decided to cover why the documentary came out in 2016, and then also if you're involved with any efforts in terms of educating, like in Russia, you know, these kind of incidents, and what you guys were involved with as well.
You know, I'm afraid I didn't get exactly. So
the first question being why, I mean, is there any significance of why you guys waited until 2016 to document this incident? And then
why
also,
it took so much to document it?
So
Why did I not make the movie now?
Well, by the way, I was helping to Anat. It took so much effort to basically, you need money basically to make movie. That's the, and she did all kind of, our friends help a lot, and not only of course, but, and nobody else wanted to do before that for some reason. And still, by the way, this movie is, maybe you want to tell about this,
The answer is you're right. You know, the Shoah, where we lost big, is the subject of tens of thousands of movies and books and articles and plays and any other type of communication you could think of. When we won big, ultimately, when 25% of the Jews in the world were able to leave and the Soviet Union crumbled, somehow, you know, Jews can't handle a victory like that. So it took a long time. The original, there was, you saw the pieces of some Israeli documentaries, but that was Israeli material and it wasn't terribly sophisticated. The first effort really came out in the year 2007 from Laura Bialis. And those of you who were here at various film showings may have seen her original program, which was called Refusnik. And that took 5 years of effort to get the funding. So she started in 2002. And that covered the whole issue of the Soviet Jewry movement and included a part about the Leningrad affair. So it really was a matter of funding. Also, Anat was very concerned that the people who were involved were going to pass from the scene. And as just one little inside story, Anat was promised hundreds of thousands of dollars by an individual in London. And Anat really counted on it. The money never came through. Finally, some of us over here opened up our pockets and tried to help. But that's, you know, not enough to really make a film, even with modern efforts with a computer and everything else. Finally, Channel 1 in Israel, and you saw occasional references to that. Finally, Channel 1 in Israel came up with the funding. And when Channel 1 came up with the funding, they said to Anat, look, you know, you're doing a documentary, and the answer is right, you're focusing, of course, on your parents, but we have to show this so many decades later to an Israeli public. How can you present it? Present it in the way of showing your relationship to your parents. So there is a back end to this. Anat did hundreds of hours of interviews. There are lots of material that, of course, was left on the cutting room floor, a huge amount. Part of this was reduced to a 3-hour, what she calls a research cut, and that will be made available to people who need to do research. And that has a lot of the other material involved. So there's a lot of the history preserved in the material that Anat did. But the answer is, you're right, and we have to think about collectively as Jews, why we somehow, almost in a sense, celebrate disaster, and somehow we can't take victory.
Okay, you put it very well, thank you. Well, I just occasionally there was like this movie Refuseniks, whatever you mentioned by Laura Bialis and some other occasionally, but this I'm not well working on this for many 3 years maybe or whatever. And it was, she did one version, another version, and it was difficult until Israeli Channel 1, main, eventually decided to take it and poured some money. But still, now there is a lot of clips and interviews, whatever. Still, she tried to somehow make it public, but a lot of, she need, of course, money, but to get this from archive, from other movies, for whatever she used, she has to pay. It's like 1 minute of some archive, it costs like $1,000, whatever. I don't remember all these numbers, but it's all, of course, question of comes to the money. Sorry, we didn't hear for fundraising, of course, but just okay.
I noticed in the movie it showed the map going to Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Who made the Swedish connection? And when everything went wrong, what was the Swedish reaction?
Well, by the way, if you know the geography a little bit, next to the, maybe I'll use my lungs. Next to the Russian border, there is Finland. We knew already that we cannot fly to Sweden. That would be easy. We have to fly over Finland to Sweden. And we hope that Swedish authority, being part of the Western world, they would understand our situation and would not give us back to Soviets. Of course, we try to make our violent part of our plot as little as possible violent. Means we have to use some violence in order to take care of 2 pilots. That's all the crew there. So we are 12 passengers and 2 crews. So, and we try to make it as as peaceful, as humane as possible. First of all, we are also human people, as you can see maybe, and also it would be better in Sweden in case we got if we succeed to get there. So we relied on Swedish common sense, put it this way. Sometimes it's difficult to trust it, but okay. Now you.
After all you had gone through in the Soviet Union and you finally arrived in Israel, how did Israel compare to what you imagined it would be?
That's a good question.
You want me to pour some dirt on Israel, right? Okay. It's normal life. Certain things I was like fascinated. Certain things I didn't like. And by the way, during the prison, I got a lot of letters. It's difficult to believe, but from Israel, straight to even from here, from England, and so on. And I had pretty good information, all the problems, all the squabbles, whatever. So I was, for me, it was an easy piece of cake, we can say. when I came to America, that was disappointing. I thought the money was okay. Okay, so I'll try to give some. Okay, please help me if I miss somebody.
Were there some successful escapes around the time you did it, and how did they take place? And also, why didn't you do it via, I guess, via walking directly to the border in Finland? Why
While playing.
Why plane? Why not just walk through the border?
Well, it is not like a Mexican American. I can go into more details, but
There's a wall.
not a wall. There is a mines, there is 30, maybe 25 miles border. If you just came there, people will arrest you just for being there. And yeah, some people could do it, I know, but you have to know where to go, and you need like a good, how to say, guide. Yeah, intel, right. We had a pilot, and that was our, how to say, card or strong wild card. Wild card. Okay.
One more.
Okay, somebody's trying to.
Michael, why don't you ask and I can.
Okay, just, what do you think, what do you think of Putin?
We had a now president election now. I thought that would be the question. Okay, Putin, he is from KGB, if you know, and all his closest, we can say, accomplices, we can say, they're also from KGB. And I hope that he will be treated by the Western world as such. That's what my opinion, okay? But nothing personal, of course. Okay.